All right, welcome into the latest edition of the second half draft show. I am your host, Juice, joined by Headley and Drew. We got a full staff tonight, and we got a really intriguing show for you. First, we're going to start with our recap from the game of week last week between Ohio State and Penn State. Obviously, a number of NFL draft prospects that we want to discuss. We're also going to talk about the game of the week in our eyes, the only ranked matchup or one of two ranked matchups between Oregon and Utah. Obviously, Oregon, both sides of the ball present a lot of NFL draft talent. Utah, one of the better defensive teams in the country. Then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of this particular live stream, this edition of the second half draft show. We're going to talk about who's receiver two, right? It's a conversation that we've had ongoing over the course of a month and a half, 2 months now. And it's starting to come into focus a little bit more. Obviously, there's more season to play, but as of right now, who is receiver two? We make the case for several players being receiver two. We're also going to get into Headley and Drew's top 5 offensive tackles. Obviously, that's a cornerstone position. So we definitely need to protect the quarterback so we can get the ball to those receivers. So Headley, Drew, let's jump into your thoughts regarding Ohio State, Penn State, and I'll lob out a few prospects, and then if there's any additional players you guys want to discuss, we can talk about them as well. But let's start with JT, man.
Tuimoloau, man. Last season against Penn State, he had his game of his life, the biggest game of his career, and he doubled down on it this year, man. I think this was his best game of the season. They had him on the left side opposite Olu pretty much the whole first half, but they moved him in the second half across from Olu, and he gave Olu some work, man. The spin move, the speed to power, his instincts. I love his instincts as a defensive end to fall back into that screen game, to get out there, get his hands up in passing lanes. You really see it a lot. Yeah, he uses his hands really well on the way to the quarterback, speed to power, like I said. And he got Olu. He got Olu a couple times to the speed to power. It was the one hand shove into Olu. A powerful man got to the quarterback, made a deflection. So, man, now we got 2 games where he balled out, both against Penn State, but the rest of the tape is a little shaky. I like him in the run defense. I love his hands in the pass game, but it's kind of few and far between right now with JT. I just want to see more consistency because coming into this season, it was him and Verse to me, man. I was like, who is the guy, him and Verse? It's some other guys that I like more than coming into this season. But, right now, JT, I think he kind of slid down my board a little bit. He was my edge 2. I think he's closer to 3, 4, 5 right now for me.
Yeah, JT showed up. He balled out, and it must be, I don't know, maybe it's just Penn State, bro. Like he got something against Penn State, maybe they didn't recruit him right. I don't know, man. Maybe they dissed him in the recruiting. I'm not sure, man. But he seems to show up for this team for sure, and it's timely. It's not just second quarter, second and 8. It's like crucial downs, crucial moments, right? When he shows up, and we talk about that in terms of an attribute for a player, specifically an edge player, shows up timely. We talked about that with Verse. We can talk about that with Jonah Ellis from Utah, and we can talk about that with JT here, at least against Penn State, right? So, like Headley said, he's kind of said it in terms of everything that he did in that game and the different moves that he was using versus Olu. He showed up, he showed out, and everything was timely, and it worked out for those guys, man.
I mean, you guys said it all. You guys really said it all. I thought your description of his performance was spot on. You get a real appreciation for his awareness, understanding that, okay, I'm not going to be able to get to the quarterback. Let me sink into this passing lane, take this screen away, take this slant away. That's how he was able to get his hands on the football last season, right, and create some turnovers. And then, of course, got a chance to see him use a couple of different traits and techniques in order to affect the passer in a timely fashion, as Drew mentioned, right? In the most critical moments of the game, 3rd and long, the clock is winding down. You're trying to put Penn State away, and JT took advantage of some quality pass rush reps against Olu Fashanu, who was widely considered the top tackle in the class, would have been the top tackle last year. So really impressive stuff for him. I agree with you, Headley. There's been some guys, namely Latu, who have who have really
Oh, yeah.
separated themselves and has eclipsed JT as far as his draft billing to this point. But I think Pumaloa, he has an opportunity to really help himself with a strong finish, build on this performance. Once again, he seems to save his best for Penn State. Build on this performance and continue to wreak havoc, continue to be a game changer, especially as you get into the heart of this Big Ten schedule. And mind you, Ohio State has played a tougher schedule than most teams to this point. When you talk about strength of schedule, certainly Ohio State has been tested to this point, and he's still a young player. I don't want that to get lost in the conversation. He's still developing. He's still growing. He's still a young man. So I think there's more. I think there's more to tap into, but I'm very impressed in terms of the speed, the power that he showed. He hit Olu with a long arm, impressive spin move to the inside. It actually unveiled a couple things that I think Olu needs to work on. You know what I mean? I don't think it's anything damning by any stretch of the imagination, but a couple things that he needs to clean up as well. It won't change his billing. I think he's a stud, but certainly there's always room for improvement. So really impressive stuff from JT. Of course, Chop Robinson goes out of this game early with an injury. Hopefully he's going to be okay. Hopefully it's not something that's going to require an extensive time away from the field. It didn't look great. It didn't look great, certainly. So we hope for the best. But Headley, you've been impressed in terms of what you've seen from Chop Robinson this season. What is it exactly that has you excited about his prospects?
The way he moves, man. Even on plays he doesn't get to, like even if he doesn't fill the stat sheet up, you could feel it. His pressure, he's coming. Saying the ability to use his feet, to bend the edge, to dip under the tackle, just rushing from the inside, rushing from the outside, the versatility for him to do that. It's just he's a ball of fire, man. He keeps coming. When I watched the tape last season, I know he didn't play as much snaps last year. It was just like I need to see it more consistently. And even in this game, even the first quarter and a half, you just saw him coming. You saw him coming. Number 44, he was coming after the quarterback, and he's really impressed me this year. He's a guy that has up my board. I'm not sure where I have. We'll talk about our top 5 edges another time. Tonight is the wide receiver and the old tackles, but yeah, he's definitely in my top 5, and he might be higher than JT at the end of the day. We'll see ultimately where he lands, but I just love his burst off the edge. It's really impressive to me.
Yeah, you said it's the consistency too that he plays with, the high motor that he plays with. You can play some games up with him. I think he has really good understanding of the offensive lineman and how to play it against them, and the timing and the pace that he uses consistently with in combination with either the tackle or a linebacker that's coming behind him. I think he plays that very well. So. Yeah, man, I think you got a little bit more with him right now than you have with JT. I think you can do a little bit more with Chop, man. So, but like Drew said, hopefully he's going to be healthy and ready to go here soon.
Drew, what did you see from Tommy Eichenberg in this one?
Ooh, Tommy Eichenberg. Did you say Tony?
Tommy.
Oh, I thought you said Tony. Okay, I was like, I don't know who that guy is. But let me know where he play at. Tommy Eichenberg, I thought he had a good game. Overall, to be honest with you, I'm looking down at this number I wrote down, 1.9 a rush.
Yeah, they shut it down.
I mean, it was ugly, and this was a big. And I know Penn State wants to go out there, they want to be able to run the football, but Eichenberg and I'm drawing a blank. 51. I'm drawing a blank.
You mean 41?
No, 51 for Ohio State.
Oh, Michael Hall? Oh, the knee tackle?
My goodness, yes. Michael Hall, Eichenberg. I thought those guys, that combination right there, I thought those guys balled out. There was plenty of penetration, kept the linebackers free to flow to make tackles. It was that front 7 was I think spectacular for Ohio State, man. They made it really tough for Drew Aller. I want to make sure I butcher his name. Aller, yeah, it was rough out there, man. My man went for 18 for 42, man. Receivers couldn't win out there, man. They look, I mean, damn. Can somebody create some kind of separation? I mean, Denzel Burke wasn't out there, right? He didn't play the other day, so it was a rough day for Penn State. There wasn't 1 for 16 on third down, man.
Yeah, bro, they didn't convert a third down till under 2 minutes left in the game. They shut them down for third down the whole game. And it was that last drive. They converted a 4th down, I think, and another 3rd down. It was that front 7, like you said, for Ohio State is probably the best front 7 in the nation, man, as far as I'm concerned, man. Those guys are balling. Tommy Eichenberg, stacking shed linebacker, sideline to sideline. Like him in the passing game. I think he's an excellent linebacker, man. He reminds me a little bit of Logan Wilson because, you know, he could get his hands on the ball in the pass game. He fills in lanes. Sometimes a little too aggressive. And you've seen it on one play where he comes in and they came out, ran to the edge. Penn State did, but man, he's a terrific linebacker, man. Not much weaknesses in his game.
Yeah, man. One player in particular that, you know, we were pretty high on coming into the season, and for the most part had you know, demonstrated his ability and really, you know, maintained his draft prospects as far as the billing in terms of where we have him slotted, but he struggled in this particular one. That was Keon King. He's matched up a lot against Marvin Harrison Jr. and MHJ got the better of him. Hadley, what did you see from Keon King? Is it something that, you know, is damning? Is it something that's correctable? What did you see?
First of all, you going against probably the best prospect in the entire class, you know, in Marvin Harrison Jr.
Probably.
He is the number 1 prospect. You know, I leave myself a little bail, you know, say probably, but he is the number 1 prospect in this class. So it's a tough matchup, and you know he was following him. You know, he followed him all of in the slot, on the outside, on the boundary, and to me, I don't even think it's much his fault. I just thought they gave him too much space to operate. You know, Harrison Jr. was killing them on the drag routes, those quick hitters, and it was like they were kind of scared of him, man. They were playing Keon King like 10 yards off of him. Didn't want him to run by him, I guess. But I don't like that for Keon King. I want him to get him in his face, put his hands on him, and play physical with Marvin Harrison. And Penn State really didn't allow him to do that. And he had that key holding penalty, that scoop and score when Penn State scored that touchdown. And that was pretty much the ball game. That was a 14-point swing pretty much because Ohio State went in to score a touchdown right after that. So it was like that was the key moment of the game, and he just had his hands a little bit too much on Marvin Harrison Jr. And he had that big holding penalty called that scoop and score back. So, you know, I think he'd be all right, man. Like I said, you're facing the best prospect in the nation, and I don't think his defensive coordinator did him justice by playing him so off coverage against Harrison Jr.
Yeah, when he was running those drags, it was a lot of zone coverage. I mean, he was just kind of just running across the formation consistently, wide open. It was easy peasy, lemon squeezy. But listen, he got physical with Marvin Harrison.
Too physical?
Well, listen, when he wasn't holding and all of that, he was getting whooped, bro. So it was like there was nothing he could really do. When he was in off coverage, he looked like he was lost out there. He looked like he didn't really know what to do. He didn't know how to position himself. It was bad, man. He got a couple penalties on off coverage too. It looked uncomfortable for him, right? He just couldn't size up Marvin Harrison, couldn't get leverage. Like there's really nothing that he could do that he could kind of get an edge. It was just, I don't know. Maybe he had to go back to the drawing board, rethink it. But it was a bad matchup for him, man. And damn, I thought, you know, maybe this could be the one that kind of catapults him to cornerback 1. And I still don't know who cornerback 2 is right now, bro.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Toss-up. Yeah, cornerback 2 a toss-up.
Yeah. Fluid situation right now.
Yes.
You know, I think you guys both nailed it in terms of your assessment of Keon King. There was one player in particular that stood out to me. I believe Ohio State was in the red zone, and Keon King was playing off coverage. He was about 8 yards off. And Marvin Harrison didn't do anything special, right, as far as a route was concerned. He didn't break him off at the top of the stem or anything like that. But it was an in-breaking route. Keon King had perfect position on it. All he had to do was drive on it. But he just wasn't playing with confidence from my perspective. Yeah. He seemed to lack the willingness to go and make a play. And you mentioned it, Hadley. Perhaps some of the off coverage kind of led to that. And then, of course, if you are bodying up Marvin Harrison Jr. and he's still making plays on you, you know, perhaps you're not necessarily, you know, completely convinced that you can go and compete with him, snap in and snap out. But Keon King was in perfect position, and Marvin Harrison just kind of took the ball away from him, just kind of boxed him out, took the ball away from him. You know, the question is going to be, you know, physicality, size, right? You know what I mean? Faced with some of these, you know, premier X receivers, can Keon King hold up? That's going to be the question mark. People are going to go to this particular tape and look at it. And of course, you don't want to overreact. But again, I don't think he played with the confidence that I expected to see, the swagger that you need to be able to play with as a corner, as a boundary corner, when you're facing upper echelon receivers. Just simply didn't see that from Kalen King this past Saturday. All right. That takes us to the aforementioned Marvin Harrison Jr. And Drew, I mean, I know that we're not going to necessarily move his spot. We're going to have the receiver 2 conversation because Marvin Harrison Jr. is firmly entrenched as receiver 1. But tell me a little bit about why he remains receiver 1 for you.
The consistency that you get from him. You know, he's a big target. He goes up and he gets the football. He's an outstanding route runner. He's a big target, man. Like, he's tough. He can play any style of receiver that you want him to play. He can play in the slot, he can play on the boundary. It doesn't really matter, right? And if Ohio State is going to consistently win, he's a big part of that. So whoever's planning on drafting this guy is going to be a big part of your football team. And obviously he has that pedigree that we like to talk about with some of these college kids coming out, right? So he understands what it is to play in the league. Well, I guess he ain't playing in the league yet, but he'll have a better understanding of what it takes to play in the league and be consistent. Right. So, I mean, you know, every time we talk about these guys at the very top every year, you know, we always try to find something to nitpick about them. They can only go down. Right. And I think the only thing, you know, before the season started, I was, you know, asking Ellie, said, man, you know, what's that speed looking like? I mean, but they must have heard us, bro. They must have watched it and said, yo, we're gonna track his miles per hour. Right. And every week he's at the top of that in terms of catching the ball and taking off. Right. Yeah, man, he's that guy. He's the number 1 prospect. He should be the number 1 prospect in this draft easily. And yeah, man, he's that guy, bro. Let's get it.
Hi, Addy.
What you doing, Addy?
Get in there, Hadley.
Yeah, man. I call him the prototype, man. They was calling him what were they calling him? Maserati Marv? No,
they kept Maserati. That's what it was.
Maserati Marv?
Yeah. They kept saying
that. Gus Johnson. Johnson. Yeah.
But he's a prototype, man, and it's from the beginning of the play to the end of the play. Everything's perfect. You could tell he was coached up by his dad, Marvin Harrison, formerly of the Colts, because from the release point is nice. The route running technician, how he sets up defenders. He leans one way and goes the other way, leaves guys in the dust. The ability to track the football, the hands, the late hands I always speak about with him. It's just he does everything the right way. So yeah, he's the best prospect in class. And the only nitpicky thing you could talk about Marvin Harrison Jr., and especially when you compare him to the other wide receivers, is yards after the catch ability. You know, he racked up some yak in this game because it was pretty much pitch and catch. They left 10 yards off of him, so he racked up some yak. But when you compare him to Nabers, Keon Coleman, Rome, these guys are all punt returners. You know, these guys are all special with the ball in their hands. So, you know, that's the only thing you could nitpick with Marvin Harrison Jr. But, you know, who needs that when the route running and he can get separation and get space? You don't have to design anything for him, even though they did design that wheel route to the outside for Marvin Harrison Jr., but you don't have to design them. It's just one-on-one, beat your guy. He's going to do it time after time, and that's what you want as a wide receiver, the X receiver in the NFL.
And listen, if you can't scheme it, if he's still open though. If you know what I'm saying, like he has that size and that wingspan to go up and get the football. I will nitpick this just because they mentioned it. He had a couple of drops. Drops last week, a couple drops the week before. I think the week before.
Concentration.
I'll tell you,
trying to run before he caught it.
Right.
There's a little of that. I'm going to echo Hedley's sentiment. We were talking about it before we came on air. Is that that's the difference. That's the difference between the rest of the upper echelon prospects at the position and Marvin Harrison Jr. He's not special with the ball in his hands. I think for that size, even though you may not necessarily be breaking guys off, you know what I'm saying? Shaking guys. I think I need to see you run with a little bit more physicality, though, right? I need you to break a tackle or two from time to time, step through something. You know what I mean? That's my only knock on him. But the polish is immense. Heather, you mentioned it. You just itemized it, right? I look at a receiver in terms of 3 phases, right? Prior to the catch, at the catch point, and after the catch. And prior to at the catch point, he's elite. He's absolutely elite. He does everything that you absolutely want. He's a coach's dream from that perspective. I think the fact that he has something to actually work on is actually a good thing, right? when you're really talented and things, I'm not saying that it comes easy because clearly he's put in the work, but when you have so much success and you're lauded with so much praise, you can get, complacent. That can happen. He doesn't strike me as that way. He certainly, considering his lineage as far as Marvin Harrison Sr. and everything, he doesn't strike me that way. But I think NFL coaches, they can push him a little bit to improve in that particular area, and I think that will bode well as he transitions to the next level. So Marvin Harrison Jr., yes, widely considered the top prospect in the entirety of the class. Is there anybody else, Headley Drew, that you want to discuss from this game? Any additional prospects?
Not so. I'm going to mention two guys. One is not eligible, but I can't not mention him. Maybe he's eligible.
I know where you're going. Nah, he's sophomore. I think I know where you're going.
I told you the other day it was Kalen's brother. Well, it wasn't Kalen's brother. It was a dual Carter, number 11, linebacker.
That's him. Sophomore. Yeah.
All over.
That's what I thought you were going with. Yeah, he was
all over the place. I mean, every play, bro. It was every play. This guy. It was ridiculous. And then the other, is he the other corner? Yeah, no, he's not. Who does he play? Oh, he's the
number 3.
No, 25, Jaquan Hardy. Excuse me. I thought he played pretty well as well. But number 11 was crazy. Like if they don't have him, this defense might have been in a little bit of trouble, especially when Chop Robinson went out.
Who you got?
I don't really have a prospect. Well, we could kind of talk about it. Because I liked how Ohio State stuck with the run. They didn't have much success. I do have a prospect in that regard. Donovan Jackson, the left guard from Ohio State, he was opening up holes. I know the stats don't look good for Ohio State. They also ran for 1.9 yards per carry,
exactly.
But they have 41 carries. They stuck with Mayan Williams. They popped some runs because of Donovan Jackson, that left guard over there. It's just his movement ability to get one, to get to the next one. It's just the feet, man, is superb for Donovan Jackson. I'm not sure if he's coming out this year. I think he's a redshirt sophomore, so he's eligible. But, yeah, I like how he plays. And Mayan Williams, the tough nose, the running, and they didn't get away from it, man. Some teams, if they don't have success running, they want to pass the ball all over the place. And, Ohio State, especially that drive in the second quarter where they scored that touchdown, they ran the football right up the middle, right behind Donovan Jackson. And I think, that was a big difference between Penn State and Ohio State.
Yeah, I think there was an expectation that this was going to be a low-scoring affair. You know what I mean? And the team that avoided mistakes was able to string together a drive or two, field position, special teams would come out on top. And to your point, that willingness to remain patient and stick with the run, protect your young quarterback against a very good defense. Penn State has a terrific defense, right? And keep the game in hand. And once they got control of the game, they remained in control of the game. They were able to open up that lead a little bit later. But I agree with you. I think the coaches, and it's been a big concern of mine across the board, a frustration, not necessarily a concern, but a frustration of mine, just the poor coaching that we've seen week in and week out. We look at these prospects and we're trying to analyze and prognosticate and determine where they slot in as far as, rankings and schemes and so on and so forth. And you can see each week coaches doing their players a disservice. It wasn't necessarily the most exciting brand of football, but it was an effective brand of football. It was enough to get you the win, right? So I can appreciate that. I certainly can appreciate that. Let's talk about the game of the week this week. And we've talked about, Oregon's actually been, a subject of the game of the week several times already for us here on the second half draft show. They are once again, and they're going to face a Utah team that can certainly play defense. Is this an upset alert type of situation in your eyes, Drew?
Yeah. What you mean? When you got the way Utah play defense, as good as they are on defense, yeah, this is definitely upset alert. And the way that Oregon wants to play offense, which is we want to run the football and kind of play the run into the pass. Yeah, this definitely could be upset alert. When you talk about Oregon, we're talking about Troy Flanken, obviously, is the receiver out there. Obviously, we're talking about Bo Nix, the quarterback, and we're talking about a guy that we really like and we need to start talking about because I don't think anybody has a running back one right now. Maybe it's Blake Corum, I'm not sure. But Bucky Irvin, the running back for Oregon, loved him coming into the season. He was intriguing to me, and he keeps being intriguing to me. So he's kind of flying up the board in terms of the running backs, in terms of his ability to contact balance, his vision. that burst that he has once he sees a hole or some green grass. And then on the defensive side, obviously, we got Headley's favorite, Brandon Dorless, right? We got Jordan Birch from South Carolina transfer. We got Kyrie Jackson. I'm not sure if he's healthy, but he's also a guy that we've been watching. We'll continue to watch. And then we have 00 and Tashim Johnson on the defensive side.
Yeah, speaking of Oregon, you spoke about Bucky Irvin. We got to show love to that offensive line because Oregon's offensive line is balling this year.
I always forget
Johnny Cornelius, the right tackle, and Jackson Powers Johnson, the center. I think PFM got him graded pretty high. So, he's opening up those holes for Bucky Irvin. So the offensive line.
Bo Nix clean.
Yep.
Yeah.
Keeping Bo Nix clean too.
Also. And Utah, they're on upset alert because I like what Utah's doing with the running game. Jaquindon Jackson, the big running back over there, and the safety, the two-way player. I think we're going to talk about him a little later. Sion Vaki, man, they put both of them in the backfield, and they go read option, and one's power, one got some burst, and if Oregon can't handle that, if Dorless and Birch can't handle their running game, it's an upset alert over there.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. I'm really looking forward to this one. Of course, I saw a report. I don't know how true it is. I really don't know how true it is. So it may be a little irresponsible of me to make mention of it. But I'm going to make mention of it anyway. There was a report saying that Lincoln Riley was talking about Utah was stealing signs. The hullabaloo associated with Michigan and of course, that their assistant or whomever going to games, recording signs, and then of course, having success because of that. So there's a lot going on that front. It's nothing new. Obviously, teams are always looking for a competitive advantage. Some things are frowned upon and others are just outright illegal. So that's where you kind of have to draw the line. But certainly Utah always seems to give every opponent everything that they can handle. They're well coached. And of course they have NFL talent. So Oregon has to be careful here. Oregon's the better team, top to bottom. There's more depth, more talent on the roster. But, Utah generally doesn't go without a fight. So I do believe, though, if Oregon gets up early on Utah, they can put them away. I don't think Utah is particularly explosive, whereas Oregon can put up bunches of points in a hurry. But the longer Utah is able to stick around and muck it up, make it a fist fight, make it a physical back and forth, the more the pendulum swings in favor of Utah, or Utah's overall chances increase. So looking forward to that particular contest. Any additional or final thoughts on this particular matchup?
I want to
before we move on.
I want to give some more love to the Utah defense. We didn't mention Jonah Ellis, the edge. He was leading the FBS in sacks a couple of weeks ago, but he sets a good edge in the run game, uses his hand well to get around the edge. Good burst, good motor. And he hustled, man. The motor is 110% all the time. And he's balling out. And Cole Bishop, this is a safety that's just going to be – he got to be in our top 5 safeties. There's a lot of safeties in this class, but just always around the football, helps in the pass game, the run game, could rush him off the edge, could play him as a pseudo linebacker. He does so many things well. And I think a lot of people are going to look past him because he probably won't have the physical, the sparky numbers that people love, but he's going to always be around the football, man. He's a heck of a player. So Cole Bishop, number 8 for Utah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Cole Bishop. As you mentioned, just always around the football. So, and we talk about the athleticism, the testing. Well, ultimately, we'll play that out. But he seems to always be in position. So between the physical tools and the football IQ, the intelligence, the aptitude for it, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's where he needs to be, and he's making the plays. I have yet to see Cole Bishop miss a tackle. I'm sure he has, but I've yet to see it. I've yet to see it to this point. So really impressive stuff. And I agree with you, Hadley. Definitely in the top 5 in a deep safety class. This is a talented group of safeties as well. So he deserves a lot of credit. All right. Let's get to what – go ahead.
Before you get there, real quick, I'm just looking at, I need a number change, bro. We can't be running around here with 83 as an edge player. Like,
that's a new trend, man.
Nah, bro.
Defensive lineman with 80s.
No.
Jalen Carter, 88.
Who?
Jalen Carter?
He the only one, bro. He get a pass.
That's the only.
That's the only
that's
guy.
the only
bro.
exception.
That's it, bro. That's it. 83 is not it, bro. But go ahead.
Oh
my bad.
man. All right. What everybody is waiting for, all two people watching the show right now. I'm glad to have you guys here. Certainly, I think this is going to be a hotly debated topic for the duration of this cycle, the 2024 NFL draft cycle. And of course, Keon Coleman is a market disruptor, but is he receiver two? That's the question. That's the question. We're going to make the case for Keon Coleman as well as several other prospects that we all collectively have in our top five. And then we're going to talk about how these players actually stack up after Marvin Harrison Jr., who is receiver one. So let's start there, Headley. Keon Coleman, make the case for him as receiver two.
State.
Yeah, that's first and foremost. Number one, state. You know what with the talent we produce. That's the type of talent we produce,
bro.
Here we go. Here we go.
Big, 6'4", big body. I think out of all these receivers, his ball skills, he's probably top of the class, man. Going up and getting it at his highest point. He showcased this all season long. His run after the catch ability, like I said, he's a punt returner, and he does work there as a punt returner. So being able to catch the football and score touchdowns, man, he does that. Also, I think the route running, he's not the best route runner, when you compare him to these top guys, Odunze, Marvin Harrison Jr., but he's not a slouch there either. He can separate, run good routes, but just playing above the rim, that's where he wins more than these guys. And if you want a wide receiver too, what has the size, the yards after catch ability, and could play above the rim, make those 50-50 balls 80-20, and I think he's going to test well also. It's going to be hard to keep him out the first 15 picks in the draft. So that's my case for Keon Coleman, wide receiver too, man. He hasn't put up the big stats. He's at Michigan State before, so he hasn't done it. This is his first year really producing, but you see the talent. It's all there, man. He's made up really well.
Yeah.
You sound reluctant. You sound reluctant.
Just
make the case.
Listen, for the past couple of weeks, if you'd have asked me who was wide receiver two, 1 week I'd have told you Coleman, next week I'd have told you Nabers, the week after I would have told you Odunze. But yeah, for the case for Coleman, man, I mean, Headley kind of said it in terms of his ability to go up and get the football, man, and he is a big play guy after the catch, man. He's extremely exciting. He plays with extreme passion and desire to go up and get the football, to take it away from anybody. And he's a guy who can just break tackles because he's strong and he's powerful, man. So, once he catches that football, it can get a little scary, man. Kind of AJ Brownish type vibes in terms of him being able to break tackles when he's in open. I said, let me say light. You like it? I'm gonna say it light. I need to see a little bit more because we're gonna talk. Well, let me not go there. I'm gonna leave it there. Let me leave it there.
You're gonna leave it there?
I'm gonna leave it there.
You're gonna leave it there. You're
gonna
put a period on it.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Let me get in here. Keon Coleman. The thing that stands out to me with respect to him is the fact that he has everything that you can't teach. He has all the things that you simply cannot teach. And when you talk about the NFL and it being a traits-driven process as far as the NFL draft and what teams are typically looking for, you don't have a bunch of DBs that can match up with the size and the physicality that Keon Coleman possesses, right? Strong hands. You guys have mentioned that he can play above the rim. You know what I'm saying? He's skywalking out there. You see the splash plays. You see what he does, even at that size, in terms of being a ball carrier after the catch, right? And I think that is an area that it's so important at the NFL level. So many throws are tunnel screens, bubbles, things that are short, extensions of the running game, and you're depending on that athlete to go out there and out-athlete the next guy. And Keon Coleman has demonstrated the ability to do that. Of course, playing at Michigan State previously, we couldn't see the full breadth of his skills. I believe Dane Brugler was probably one of the first people who were like, listen, just wait. He's transferring to FSU. He's going to get some good quality quarterback play. You're going to see what he's capable of. And he hasn't disappointed. He absolutely hasn't disappointed. And I understand. I understand why the masses are so excited about his skill set because, again, like I said, he simply does things that you cannot teach. And when it comes to the other aspects of the game that he needs to work on, those are things that can be improved upon, right? Like I said, you can't teach 6'4". Can't teach it. You can't teach the ability at the moment of truth to come down with guys draped all over you. And then, of course, not just come down with it, but then make a play after the catch, right? He can give you something in terms of being a blocker in the open field, you know what I'm saying, to spring those big runs as well. So certainly makes a lot of sense for those organizations that are looking for, a big X to come out there and really be, perhaps the focal point of your passing attack. So really like what Keon Coleman has to offer. All right. But of course, we're going to talk about some other receivers here. We're also going to make the case as to why they should be receiver too. So let's move on to Rome Odunze, Drew. And I'm going to start with you on Rome.
That boy can run routes. I know we talk about Ohio State being wide receiver U, but I think Washington's starting to creep in to be that second school that we can talk about it being wide receiver U number 2 when you talk about the receivers they have over there, because them boys over there, the boys can run routes, man, and Rome can do that. Rome can go up and get the football, not to the level of Coleman, but he can make himself some contested catches. He is where he's supposed to be inside of that offense. And he's the main guy that Michael Penix counts on consistently, right? You have my guy, Jalen McMillan, who's gone down, and Rome has just been consistent in terms of getting his production and doing what he needs to do in terms of being where he's supposed to be. And he also is a big play threat with the ball in his hands. He does a little bit different than Keon Coleman. But, it's Rome. Yeah, Rome. I'm period.
Period.
Yeah, put a period on it, man. Rome Odunze, he was my wide receiver 2 coming into this. I'm going to unveil who my wide receiver 2 is right now. But as far as Rome, making the case for him, he's big, fast, twitchy, route running. Like Keon Coleman, they're both bigger receivers, ex-receivers. But the polish with Rome and the route running with Rome is superior to Keon Coleman. He doesn't, like Drew said, he doesn't go up and get the ball like Keon Coleman, but man, he could take the top off the defense. He could run right by you, or he could shake you, man. Once he catches the ball in the open field, he makes defenders miss. So he has that in his arsenal. Quick twitch in and out of his breaks. Yeah, twitch. Twitch is the real word for Rome at his size. A big guy that's twitchy like that. Wouldn't compare him. A guy just came in my head. It's not a comparison. Odell Beckham, man, where he's so twitchy. He's so twitchy. What he could do with his body is really impressive. He's a hands catcher. And the biggest question mark I had with him coming into this year is going up and getting the ball, making those 50-50 balls, 80-20. I didn't see it much last season on tape, and I'm seeing it more and more on tape this year. So I think he's improved upon that, and he's just getting better. That's the thing with Rome also. He's just getting better and better. So that's my case for him for wide receiver 2. And also what he has that other guys in this class doesn't have is if you want a run blocker at the wide receiver position, he might be the best in the class in this top 5, this run blocking, opening up holes for the running back. So he helps in the run game and the pass game.
No, that's a great point. That's a great point. He gets after it in terms of the run blocking is concerned. When I watch Rome Odunze and I think about, receiver 2, what separates him, it's really the fact that not unlike Keon Coleman, he does a lot of things really well, but I think he does more things perhaps at a higher level, right? Whereas Keon Coleman is, the creme de la creme as far as playing above the rim. It's not a huge drop off to Rome Odunze. He's not the same athlete as far as being springy, as far as leaping, but you could still give him that opportunity to go make a play. He doesn't necessarily have to create, huge degrees of separation in order to make a play on the football. And as you mentioned, the ability, the twitchiness, I think that's the name of the game. I think that's what's necessary in order to consistently create separation at the next level, right? You need to be able to give the opposition, that head movement, that shoulder movement, and have a little wiggle to you in order to create that consistent separation. And overall, I think when you talk about polish, we talked about how clean a prospect Marvin Harrison Jr. is. I think Rome, among the receivers, is the next cleanest. I think he has the next highest floor. When you talk about being confident that this is going to be a very effective player at the next level, I don't know that there's anybody outside of Marvin Harrison Jr. that I feel more strongly about with respect to that, right? As far as doing all the little things right, understanding the technique, understanding pacing, having spatial awareness, being able to attack man and zone coverage. You can't take him away. You can't, outside of rolling coveraging, bracketing him, you can't take him away, right? You have certain receivers who excel when they face man coverage, others who blow up when they face zone coverage. Shout out to Puka Nacua. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to Rome, there's nothing he can't do. And then, of course, he can go return the punt for you, not unlike Keon Coleman. So really impressive player. And certainly he's deserving. He's deserving of receiver 2. He has the goods for receiver 2 for sure. All right. We got a couple more receivers that we want to get to as far as why they should be considered receiver 2. And the next guy, Headley, was my favorite coming in. He was my favorite coming in, and that's Malik Nabers from LSU. Why is he receiver 2?
Man, he got a lot of traits. While Rome and Keon Coleman has the size, 6'3", 6'4" nature, Malik Nabers is around 6 foot. So he might get knocked on that, but he doesn't play like a 6 foot guy, man. He's a pit bull. That mentality that he plays with, they were comparing Malachi Corley to Deebo Samuel. Mm-hmm. Now, this is the closest guy to Deebo Samuel's in his class. He has that ability to catch the football, electric after the catch. DJ Moore, that's another receiver where, just get him the ball in space and he could take it the distance. He became Jaden Daniels' go-to guy, great route runner, start, start ability. I always go start, stop, start. I know if people go stop, start ability. No, you start, you stop, and then you start again. He does that really well. I love how he separates at the top of his routes. That's really important also. He's not the route runner, maybe a Rome Odunze or definitely not Marvin Harrison route running prowess. But if you could separate at the top of your routes, be physical with DBs at the top of your routes, that's plenty good right there. And he does that really well. He tracks the football really well. And the return ability, man, like I said, he's the best with the ball in his hands to me in this class. And if you have that and you could get a screen pass, a handoff, you could use him in so many different aspects of the game. And his movement ability, man, in and out of breaks, love it, man. It's so many things to love about Malik Nabers. It's just the size thing is where, okay, I need this big X receiver on the outside, and we could put him anywhere on the field. But Malik Nabers, he's going to thrive in whatever role, whatever coordinator gets a hand on him. It could be really special, man. So that's my case for Malik Nabers as wide receiver 2.
Damn, bro, I don't know if I need to say anything else, bro.
No, you got to get in there.
Get in there. Saying? Like he done took all the good nuggets, man. Yeah, no, he can definitely play outside. He can play on the inside. He is dangerous with the football in his hands. They use him in a very in a lot of ways, right? So he's not just a guy that can just run straight up the field and strike fear in the safety or the corner out there. He's a guy who can you get him just a smidge of space. He's very dangerous with the ball in his hands. He can head upfield, hit his head on the goalpost. Like Headley said, I love his attitude. I love I love receivers and corners that when the ball is headed their way, they play with a different level of passion and feistiness. And you brought up a guy that I was thinking of, which was DJ Moore. And I think he may be closer to that with more twitch. And I don't know. Is he heavier than DJ Moore? I don't know.
No, I think Moore's
the same, right?
They're close.
They're bigger.
Close.
Moore is 26. You know what I'm saying? He's more developed at this
NFL
point.
body.
That's true.
Yeah, very close.
Okay.
Nabers is pushing 200 pounds himself. He's about 6 foot, 200 pounds. So he's put together pretty well.
Okay. So I think there's a guy that's closer that we're going to talk about here in a second. That'd be closer to Deebo Samuels, in my opinion. But if we want to compare Nabers to Deebo Samuels, I'm fine with it. And he maybe you know what? He might be closer to Deebo Samuels just because of his ability to run routes versus the next guy we're going to talk about, who that may not necessarily be the case. But when the ball is in that guy's hands, that's when sparks fly, right? So, yeah, man, Nabers, he's not my receiver 2, but he's close.
Are you giving it away?
Yeah, man. Stop giving it away.
You're
making the case? How you gonna make the case for him to be receiver 2 and then say he's not my receiver 2?
He's not my receiver 2, but he's close. Or maybe I'm throwing a curveball, man. I want to hear what you got to say, Juice, because this is your receiver 2. I don't know. I just made that up, but I know that's
no. He is. Since we're giving it away, he is. I think I'll be real with you. Bro. It's got the highest ceiling in the class, bro. No. I don't think, and this includes Marvin Harrison Jr. I think Malik Nabers has the highest ceiling in this class. That doesn't necessarily mean he has the highest floor now. I'm not going to go that far. I think Harrison Jr. and Odunze have higher floors than him. But as far as ceiling is concerned, I don't think there's a guy who makes more plays at every level than Malik Nabers. Short, intermediate, deep, it doesn't matter. Heather, you were talking about the size as it relates to being able to be more of a prototypical X. You said it in the same breath. He plays bigger than his size. I don't think he's small by any stretch of the imagination, but he's not 6'3". He's not 6'4", right? I don't think it matters with respect to Malik Nabers. You know, I went on a record a few months back in terms of his ability to get to everything. Flypaper hands. So when he's locked in, he's a tough out, man. He leads the nation in receiving yards. I mentioned before, I actually got it. I'm not going to play it. I'm going to do it in the actual video. I'm not going to play it, but he's tripled his TD production from a season ago. He's Jaden Daniels' go-to guy. He opens the field up for everybody else as well, right? And, you know, you can make the argument that SEC is not as good as it's been in recent years. It's down a little bit. But when you're paying that SEC talent on a weekly basis and you're facing those athletes, there's something to be said for that. Don't scout the helmet. I get it. I certainly get it. But the things that I wanted to see in terms of Malik Nabers, him being locked in snap to snap from last year to this year, I'm seeing that. And that's all the confirmation that I needed. That was all the confirmation I needed. As far as talent and ability, what you want out of a receiver in this day and age, he has it in spades. Yes, there's areas, nuance, right, that he can continue to improve upon. But again, young player, true junior, you know what I'm saying? And last year was really his first year with getting starter runs. So he's developing as well, and he's developing at an immense pace. And like I said, when it's all said and done, when we put a bow on this class, I find it hard to believe that I'm going to come off my point that he has the highest ceiling. Whether he gets there is a different conversation. I think landing spot, his temperament, the coaching that he gets, all of that matters, right, to some degree. But certainly as far as tools are concerned, even not necessarily being prototypical in size, he's receiver 2. He's receiver 2 with the upside of receiver 1 in my eyes. All right.
I know you said last year, one of the things that was a concern for you, may have said, and I wasn't listening to you, was that he may not, I don't want to say not show up in games, but there seems to be a little bit more oomph in his game.
For
depending
example, on the matchup.
Correct. This year, I don't necessarily think that's the case. Like, I'm going to show up every game. I'm going to be that guy every game. And
every week.
They don't actually have a choice because of the defense. Right?
Exactly. That's a great point.
We're going to lose this thing, right? So, so he's probably going to light up. In terms of production, he's just going to light it up every week. And so it's going to be lights, camera, action every week for him and Brian Thomas over there.
For sure. All right, let's get to our fourth receiver, and we're going to make the case for our fourth receiver as receiver 2. It's Xavier Leggette. Let's start with you, Headley.
Man, this guy burst on the scene, man, and it was against North Carolina. I was like, number 17, South Carolina. I'm not sure as well.
Is that Alshon?
Dude was my guy. I'm like, is that Alshon reincarnated? Who is this guy? And 6'3", 227, great body control. Those 50-50 balls, he made that easy. But what was more impressive with the 6'3", 227 frame was when he ran 22 miles per hour after that. Yeah. So he's big and fast. Mingo was a guy like that last season where you're big and fast. He was a second-round pick. So I think Leggett's going to be probably a first round. At latest, he'll be a second-round pick. I think he's creative after the catch. I think this is the guy you're talking about, Drew, that's Debo with the ball in his hands, because his ability to break tackles, be very creative, get to top speed really quickly, And I think that's one of the most impressive things about Xavier Leggette is how quick he gets to top speed. Like he'll catch a ball over his head and just accelerate. He just keeps going and gets there really, really fast. Like I said, he can stack DBs, body control, high point ability. He got suddenness in his game. So, you know, we're talking about a Keon Coleman. We're talking about a Odunze, a Malik Nabers. But Leggette also has an outside shot to be wide receiver too, because he has all the traits. He has the size. He has the speed. Acrobatic catches. You see him make an acrobatic catch pretty much every week. And 6'3", 227. I think he's going to run a 4.4. You can't teach that. You talk about Keon Coleman. You can't teach those traits. You can't teach that, man. That's big time.
Yeah, man. This is another weapon. I hate reusing words, but I can't help it, right? Just get the ball in his hands and let him work, man. And he's going to do it with violence. And it doesn't really matter where he's catching the football. He is a guy who will go up and get it, like Headley said, in terms of contorting his body. The only issue that I have right now, two things. One, I want him to be a better route runner, but he's in a system where I don't necessarily think we're going to see that. So that may hold him back. And then the other thing is he got to stay healthy, man. If he can get those things done, you know what I'm saying? And he's a big target. So it's, you know, I know Marvin Harrison's a big target. He out there running around, staying healthy. So, but Leggette got to stay healthy, but it's also a part of his game, though. It's how he plays. And so you may have to accept that, right? So we know Debo get hurt every year, right? So right around that time, it's time to get hurt. It's time to be out for a couple of games, right? And so that may be a thing with Leggette. It may hold him back in terms of his draft status because of his style. If you play that way and you don't get hurt, it's one thing. But if you play that way and get hurt, it's a whole nother thing. So, yeah, man, I like Leggette. I just need him to stay healthy, man. Just stay healthy.
Shout out, I love we. Shout out Jake in the comment section. As far as Leggette is concerned, you know, he burst on the scene, as Headley mentioned. He was a surprise. We weren't aware of him going into this season. And, you know, every time I watch him, I'm impressed. I'm impressed from the physical stature and the speed at which he plays, right? And again, I made mention of it before. That's not something you can teach. You can't teach 22 miles. Was it 22 miles per hour at that size, at almost 230 pounds? You cannot teach that. I think of all these receivers, he's probably in the least advantageous situation as it relates to coaching and system and even quarterback play. I think Spencer Rattler is a talented player, but you know, he's not Penix. He certainly isn't Penix outside of MHJ, and we're not talking about him. Jaden Daniels obviously playing at a very high level as well, and Headley's guy in Jordan Travis in FSU. I think I had to let my mind catch up a little bit. I think all three of those quarterbacks are obviously playing at a higher level than Spencer Rattler, right? And you know that impacts the receiver. I also think that when you consider offensive lines, what South Carolina is rolling out there isn't very good either. That's a problem as well. So I think when you see 38 grabs at 736 yards, you see that's just that average is just dripping big play. It's just oozing big play waiting to happen, whether he catches it short or he catches it deep. He stacks the defensive back. You know, he could hit his head on the goalpost. So that type of explosiveness obviously goes a long way. And again, he has the traits that you simply cannot teach. A little bit older prospect. I believe he's a redshirt senior. It's taken a while for him to get to this point and really be able to demonstrate what he's capable of. But this very well could have been more of a coaching situation and just how you're deploying him, right? Coaches, you know, get comfortable with certain players. Quarterbacks get comfortable with certain players, and you kind of force feed them. With Jaheim Bell transferring out, you know, Leggette, again, you talked about it, Headley. Juice Wells was the guy that we were expecting to continue to flourish, right? And here comes Leggette with an opportunity, and he's made the most of it. And I can appreciate that. And I'm sure scouts are going to appreciate that. You finally gave him a chance, and he's producing. He's producing big time, right? And under different circumstances, I think he would be producing even more. So when you talk about those traits that NFL teams covet, that there's going to be a hive. It may not be a huge hive, but there is going to be a hive for him. There are going to be certain people who feel like he should be considered receiver 2, receiver 3 in this particular class. So I really like what Leggett's doing. As you mentioned, Drew, want to see him get healthy, want to see him finish this season strong in the SEC. All right, fellas. We've made the case. For Keon Coleman, Xavier Leggette, Malik Nabers, and Rome Odunze as receiver 2. It's time to actually unveil your top 5 in order. Well, not top 5. Obviously, we know who's number 1, Marvin Harrison Jr. We've already established that. But 2 through 5, Hadley, who do you got?
All right. Marvin Harrison Jr., number 1. I'm going to stick with what I got. Rome Odunze, number 2. I know Keon Coleman, Malik Nabers is coming. I'm sticking with Rome. I just think he's the highest floor guy. I think he's the easiest to evaluate in terms of route running. More complete, more polished. Like I said, the run blocking aspect of his game. He just has more tools, not tools, but he has more to go with, man. He's more complete.
He's more complete wide receiver.
Yep. More polished, more complete wide receiver. So I got him number 2. Number 3, I'm gonna go Malik Nabers. It's something about Malik Nabers. I know I'm state. I know D-Kid's not here, so I'm safe right now. He's not gonna attack me. But I'm gonna go Malik Nabers number 3 because that ceiling is real, like you said. And Keon Coleman 4, and his ceiling is also immense. I think Keon Coleman and Nabers has higher ceilings than Rome Odunze. I think Rome Odunze has the higher floor. But what Keon Coleman could do above the rim, he just wins there. So it's special, like you said, it's special. The ball skills is very special. So I'm gonna go 3 Malik Nabers, 4 Keon Coleman, and then number 5 I'm gonna go Xavier Leggette. Just one season, that 3 touchdowns for Leggette surprises me, man. He should have more touchdowns than that. But 6'3", 227, 4.4 speed. He's my wide receiver 5 right now.
All right, man.
Drew. Let's hear it.
All right, man. So obviously we got Marvin Harrison number 1. Number 2, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Rome Odunze. I'm gonna do it.
Both of y'all went Rome with receiver 2.
Stick with it. That's so we went wide receiver U in Ohio State 1, wide receiver U2, and Rome Odunze out there at Washington, and then I'm gonna follow up with Malik Nabers. Okay, and listen, it was a battle between him and Coleman, and I'm gonna tell you why. All right, I'm gonna tell you why I chose Malik Nabers. All right, we gonna make it real simple, bro. It's the numbers, bro. It's the consistency that I get from Nabers.
The consistency. I hear you.
Now Coleman's at a disadvantage in terms of State plays defense, so State don't necessarily have to throw the football all over the yard. But it's just the consistency and the efficiency he has with the football versus Coleman, who sometimes he just disappears, bro. For whatever reason, right? It's the peaks and valleys. It's the stock market out there, bro. Right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of why I have Coleman at number 4. But he's got that big playability. He's dangerous, and so he's still in the top 5. And then bringing up the last of it is Xavier Leggette. Obviously, we talked about him. And I just want to throw in an honorable mention if I can. I'm not gonna throw in because he's been hurt, so I gotta. He gonna take a hit because he's been hurt. Got to be healthy, right? Xavier Worthy, and I know that's Juice's one of Juice's guys is Xavier Worthy from Texas, who is a big play guy. I think did you call him baby or light?
Devontae Smith light.
Yeah, yes, and I like the comp. He's dangerous, good route runner. Speed, twitchy, just gotta catch the football, man.
Yeah. He might be the fastest wide receiver in his class too.
Yeah, he might. Yeah,
he's got more juice. He got more juice than Devontae Smith. He got more juice. That's for sure. It's an incredibly deep receiver class, right, Jake? Right? What's this guy thinking? He done forsake McMillan because he's hurt.
He's hurt, man.
He forsaked him because he's hurt.
I need him out there playing, man.
But yeah, I this is an incredibly deep class. You know what I'm saying? And you can look at the teams that these players actually play for, and the number 2 on those teams, right? And those guys are they're probably going to hear their names fairly early on day 2. As far as Malik Nabers at LSU, got Brian Thomas, right? You got Johnny Wilson at FSU. You got Jalen Polk and the aforementioned Jalen McMillan at Washington. Juice Wells, there with Xavier Leggette. So really, really deep class. Drew, you mentioned Xavier Worthy, Troy Franklin. I'm sure he's going to be in a lot of people's top 5s. There's a number. There's a number of receivers, and it's probably a dark horse. Ibuka, of course. There's probably going to be a dark horse that's going to find his way into the first round that we have not mentioned to this point. Just on the strength of the pre-draft process, right? Mm-hmm. Right. They kind of put everything together and they carve out a relationship with a particular organization. You know how the interviews mean a lot. There's a lot that goes on into this. It's not just what necessarily happens between the lines during the season. So this is going to be there's going to be some volatility here. There's going to be some volatility here, I would imagine, as far as who lands in the first round. As far as my 5, again, it's the same 5, a little bit different order though. Obviously, MHJ, he's going to be receiver 1, receiver 2, as I mentioned. Give me Malik Nabers. I think he has the highest ceiling. I agree with you, Headley. Keon Coleman has a similar ceiling. I think he does. But the sheer production that I'm getting out of Malik Nabers and the leap that I saw from last year to this year has me convinced that he's just going to keep getting better, bro. Yeah. He's just going to keep getting better, bro. That I don't think people are thinking about it from that perspective, right? They see him putting up these numbers, leads the FBS and receiving yards. He's tripled his TD output, and they're like, oh yeah, he was great last year, but do you see how he's improved from one year to the next? And of course, he made Keon Coleman, who was considered a first-round prospect at this time last year, obsolete in that offense.
He did.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm all in on Malik Nabers as receiver 2. For my receiver 3, this is where we have the flip-flop. I got Odunze, right? As far as polish is concerned, you know, the only player that he's looking up to is Marvin Harrison Jr. Does everything at a very high level. He makes it look easy as well. He makes it look easy as well. He's a professional. He approaches the game like a professional. He looks like he's a professional. And then, of course, you mentioned a part of the game that doesn't necessarily show up in the box score. His ability and willingness as a run blocker goes a long way. That goes a long way in terms of springing those big runs and creating balance for an offense. So there's going to be coaching staffs, organizations who love that, right? He can go out there and be the focal point of your passing game, and then he puts just as much effort and tenacity into getting it after as a run blocker. So Odunze comes in at receiver 3 for me. Keon Coleman is also my 4th receiver. I think because there's some volatility in the production, and it's just being cautious to this point. It's just being cautious to this point. He continues to stack good games week after week. You know, he's going to continue to be in the spotlight. I think quite a few people, whether they watch this show or just football fans in general, already feel that he is receiver 2. He certainly is capable of it. We've mentioned it before. We all made the case for it. He's certainly capable of it, but I just don't see the consistency that I want to see from him. And I want to point some things out with respect to Keon Coleman, because I agree with you, Drew. He's not peppered to the same degree as a Malik Nabers. In fact, nobody is. Nobody is, right? But 30% of Keon Coleman's receptions came in week 1 against LSU. 30% of them, right? Over 25% of his receiving yards came in that game, and 43% of his touchdowns came in that game. So it's the only game being played that day. You got all eyes on you, right? And you go out there and you show out, right? You can't take that away from him. But outside of that game, he's had maybe one other big game, and he's had some peaks and valleys. And I'm going to hold it against him. I'm going to hold the Boston College game against him. 3 targets, no grabs, right? You can't disappear. You're not going to be my receiver 2 if you disappear. You understand what I'm saying? So we'll see how he finishes, because, again, the skill set, the traits, the things that you can't teach, he has it in spades, right? And he's certainly talented enough to be the receiver 2 in this class. And then finally, again, we all agree, 5th guy, Xavier Leggette. He's where the volatility is as far as who might be able to jump into the top 5, right? Mm-hmm. We've only seen 1 year of production. What we've seen thus far, obviously, there's a lot to like, but there's some circumstances that have kind of depressed some of his production. So it is much more of a projection associated with Leggette. And for that reason, I'm going to knock him down a little bit until we get a little further into the season. We get into the pre-draft process so we can really get to see. I want to see him in Mobile. I really want to see him in Mobile, get a chance to see him up close and personal, see what he's doing from a route running perspective. And you will notice that at 4 and 5, for all of us, we have the 2 guys who are probably the least polished from a route running perspective. It's the name of the game. It's the name of the game, right? Right? You can have all the speed, you can have all the physical ability, but the name of the game is getting open. And the top three, namely in the case of receiver 2, Malik Nabers and Odunze, they do that better than both Keon Coleman and Xavier Leggette. So that's what we have for you as far as receiver 2. We have each of our top 5s, and we've made the case for receiver 2. Like I said, man, Keon Coleman is a market disruptor, but we don't have him quite at receiver 2. All right, let's switch gears a little bit here. Let's switch gears here, and I want to talk about you guys' rankings as far as offensive tackle. There's a lot of teams in need of quality offensive tackle, offensive line play in general, but a lot of needy teams at offensive tackle. There's also a lot of talent. That's the good news here for NFL teams. The 2024 NFL draft class has a ton of tackle talent, offensive tackle talent. Obviously, the guy, and we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. We've already discussed him as far as the recap. Olu Fashanu is OT1, but I'm really interested to see who you guys have 2 through 5. So I'm going to start with you, Drew. Who do you have as OT2 for you?
Bro, what are you doing? We're supposed to go straight to 3, bro. We know who 2 is. What you doing, man?
Just some of the conversations. I know who you got. Let's do it. Let's do it for our audience, right? Okay. I think Jake actually has. I think he has a departure in this thought. And this is the reason why I wanted to have this conversation.
Explain himself, man. It's Joe Alt from Notre Dame.
I think Alt's closer to 1 than he is to 3.
Ooh, yeah,
I'm gonna go that far.
Yeah, ooh. Jake, where you at, man? You got to bring you to the front of the congregation, and you got to explain yourself. The podium is yours. No, yes, it's Joe Alt, man. 6'8", excellent mover, good feet, nice leverage. When he does get beat with the leverage, he's able to. One of the things that I look for in offensive lineman that I really, really like, and there's a couple of guys that do this well, is when they're beat. They're able to kind of, because of maybe their length or maybe their technique, their positioning, they're able to kind of turn it against the guy that they're going against, right? Or just enough to give the running back or the quarterback time to get the throw off, right? And I think Joe Alt does that very, very well. There was an issue that I thought in terms of his ability to actually come downhill and move people. You're 6'8", you're supposed to be a monster, like, you know what I'm saying? And so I want to see that. And last year we weren't seeing that. That was one of the knocks that I had on him. And this year he's kind of, maybe he was listening to the show, somebody's head was in his ear and he's moving people. I'm not saying he's mauling people. He's moving people. I don't need you to maul anybody as an offensive lineman unless that's your style, but he's moving people in the run game. And that's what we want to see. And as far as I was concerned, I think he's only been beat one time this year. I forget who it was. It was somebody that I think who was it? Who were they playing? Was it? I can't remember. He got beat one time. That's all I remember of this year. He's had a good year, and he's just not as athletic as Olu, I think, right? And then you talk about Olu's age. He has that advantage as well, and Olu's been doing it, since he's essentially come in to Penn State. So yeah, that's my number 2, man, Joe Alt.
Yeah, Joe also. Oh, we're gonna keep going with Drew. I could go with my number 2 because Joe also my number 2 also.
What's your number 2? Yeah.
And like I said, I think he's closer to 1 than he is to 3. I think he's a little safer than Olu too. You know what I'm saying? Coming into this year, I was looking for more his movement ability. You see Olu, how he moves and how he hit his landmarks, how he moves in the run game, and it's like that athleticism is unfair. For a left tackle to a guy that big. Shouldn't be moving that fast. That's the phrase I always use, and Olu has that. But Joe Alt, he's moving a lot better this year. Like Drew said, that's what I was looking for him. Can he move in the run game? His lateral ability is kind of stiff a little bit, but he's doing that a lot better. He has the prototypical length and size. Always leads with his hands. You can't really go around him. You can't really go through him. And also, he is susceptible to the inside move sometimes. I think he's cleaned that up also this year. Really good at his pass protection when he gets out. He uses his hands and he drops his anchor. He's a taller guy, 6'8", but I like how he drops his anchor. And it's so much things to like about Joe Alt. And from a technical standpoint also, I think he might be a little better from a technical standpoint than Olu. And that's why I have him at offensive tackle number 2. And I think it's close, man. I think it's 1A, 1B right now, man. I wouldn't have said that before this season. It was Olu always was number 1, but what I'm seeing from Joe Alt this season, I'm like, okay, I think he's getting better and he's moving up. Say he's not number 1, but he's still moving up closer to number 1 for me.
Gotcha. I think Alt is getting better coaching first and foremost, I think he's getting better coaching. And to your point, the improvements that we wanted to see from all we've seen it. Olu, unfortunately, only could go down, right? Right. He could kind of maintain his billing or come back to the pack. You know what I'm saying? And I don't even think he's come back to the pack necessarily. It's just, as you mentioned, Helly, Alt has just gotten better. He's playing at a higher level, so he's gotten closer to Olu. The thing that I saw on that Ohio State tape that concerned me with Olu, the only nitpick that I have for him, really, I think when JT got him with that speed to power, he was surprised. I think he was surprised by it. I think Olu gives up a short corner too frequently, though. Like you said, he's so athletic. He can, and of course, in the same breath, I saw him go out and go get the guy in a wide 9 or alignment. I don't think he was in a wide 9. I think it was a blitz off the edge. He just went out there and got him in open space, in pass pro open space. He just went and got a blitzer. So it's not as if he's not capable of it. He's clearly capable of it. But I thought in that game, he gave up some short corners, allowed the edge, JT namely, to affect the quarterback, right? You know what I'm saying? As the quarterback's dropping back, he gets to his landmark, and
I gotta step up.
the tackle and the edge are right on top of you because Olu allowed a bit of a short corner. But I think that's an easy fix. I think that's an easy fix for him in the grand scheme of things. Let's talk about OT3 for both of you. So you started off, Headley.
I got JC Latham, Alabama. He was my offensive tackle 2 coming into this year. I had Joe under him, but I kind of flip-flopped that. He's a big, wide right tackle. He has great movement ability for his size. That's the thing I like about him is he's big, but he can also move. I think he moves a little bit better than Alt. He can get to the second level. He can locate defenders. He got a good, solid, wide base. He got those hands. He's kind of stonewalls. A lot of power in his hands to stonewall pass rushers. Hand placement, man. His hand placement is great. I think him and Joe Alt really have great hand placement. Sometimes
coaching, bro.
The coaching for Joe Alt, right?
Bro. Yep. And Latham. It's coaching, bro.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. Yeah.
Yeah, man. And last year you see him get beat sometimes with oversetting. I forgot what game it was with JC Latham this year where I was like, he was getting beat. What game was that, Drew? I think we talked about it in an earlier live, and it was like
Texas. Was that the Texas?
Yeah,
game?
Texas. The Texas game. Yep. Texas.
Yeah.
He lost his balance. Sometimes he'll drop his head. So that game kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I'm gonna watch more tape on him, JC Latham, because it's some guys coming. Some guys we're talking about later, offensive tackle in 4 and 5. Those guys are coming, and that Texas game really rubbed me the wrong way with JC Latham. But from the tape last year, man, I just got to keep him at offensive tackle 3. He's effective in both the run and the pass game. Got good knee bend, and he plays with really good leverage also for his size, man. It's like his size. You think he might not have that leverage, that movement ability, but he does. I think he's a little bit better than Joe Alt in terms of that.
Pad level. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jake said, "Let's get crazy."
Let's get crazy, bro.
Yeah,
let's get wild.
I think Latham was my OT tackle 2. I think
coming in. I think so.
I think so. Yeah.
Hold on, I'm just reading Jake's comment.
You're reading it, right?
Is that me? Olu's number 3? Is that what he's saying? Read between the lines. He might edge Alt for me. So Latham might be 1, Alt might be 2.
Jake is all in on Latham, bro.
I like Latham.
I ain't mad at him. I ain't mad at him, but he's not my number 2 because there's a guy that I was watching.
Number 3. Number 3. Yeah. You talking about?
I mean, my number 3 is not my number 3.
You moving him down?
Yeah, I'm moving him down.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, surprised you?
A little bit.
I moved him down. This guy I really, really like, man, because he got a nasty streak in him. You know how I feel about my nasty streak guys, especially on the offensive line. I have Talisi. Did I say that right?
Fuaga, yeah.
Fuaga, 6'6", 334, man. First thing I noticed is his ability to climb to the next. What do you say? Talisia. Talicia. Oh, my bad.
There you go.
Talicia Fuaga. I said that right? Yeah. 6'6", 334, man. He can climb to the next level with ease. That was the first thing I noticed, which tells me he moves very, very well. Athletic guy. He has great temperature in terms of the play call, right? So do I need to be really aggressive here? Do I need to be laid back, kind of passive, and kind of let things, come to me? Really nice leverage with angles in terms of just his technique and being able to take on different kinds of blocks or blitzes that come his way. I thought his feet were stellar. let me see here. His ability to mirror any type of edge that was coming his way. I thought he was outstanding with that, man. Like he looked like a damn mirror. You ever seen animals in front of the mirror and they kind of they can't believe what they're seeing? Like this thing is moving while I'm moving. And I thought he was really, really good doing that. I thought when he got his hands on you in the run game, he swallowed folks up. Like that's his
body
thing,
bag.
bro.
Body bag.
Thank you. Body bag, right? I put you in a body bag, or I'm gonna put you in the rafters. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Pick your poison. And the only real issue that I had with him was sometimes he did lose leverage. He did get a little too aggressive, right? He was what do we call that? Oversetting, head down, doing all that. You don't want to see end up on the ground type stuff. But I really, really like him. And I think he can only go up for me because with his ability to mirror, and then he's got the nasty in the run game, bro.
Yeah, it's a mentality for you. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mentality. That's why he's at 3. That's why he's at 3 for Drew. It's the mentality for sure.
Oh, yeah, he's my offensive tackle 4. Talicia, Fuaga. Watch the tape against Latu, and Latu kind of beat him early with some hand movements, like he does everyone. That's Latu's game, but he kind of recovered pretty well. He recovered pretty well from that. But I love his movement ability, how he fires off the ball in the run game. He gets to his landmarks really quickly. Nasty. He's nasty. Very nasty to finish and drive defenders. He might be the nastiest tackle probably in this class. I think he will fit really nicely in a zone scheme because he moves really well laterally and he can locate in space. Like I said, Latu, the hand technician, kind of got him a little earlier, but he's very dominant in the run game. I wanted to say he might be the best run defender in this class. We'll see, man. You know what? I'm gonna say it, man. He might be the best run blocker in this class, bro. Talicia Fuaga is excellent in run blocking. From an athletic standpoint, I don't see much, other than Olu, man. It's probably the next best in terms of athleticism.
Yeah.
He's a force moving forward, and you see it time after time on tape. His ability to get to the other side of the field to cross the defender's face, do a seal block. That's special, man, because you're running 10, 15 yards to the other side of the field to seal off and for those running backs to do the cutbacks and break those 10-yard runs could turn to 60, 70-yard runs because of his athleticism, his speed, and his nastiness. So he's definitely my offensive tackle 4. And I was telling Latham, man, there's some guys behind you that's coming, and he's definitely one of those guys. And Latham, man, you got to tighten up a little more because Drew already did it. He beat me to it, man. I kind of wanted to go there, but I was like, off the tape from Latham last season, I got to respect him still. But I might join you, Drew, on that Talicia Fuaga number 3 in the class. And I seen that he was a guard in the little simulator that we watched. So I'm wondering if teams see him more as an interior player, but the tape I watched, man, he's perfectly fine on the outside.
Yeah, I think that'd be crazy move him inside. I get it because of the nasty and the ability, how he plays. He can play in a phone booth, but I think you're doing him a disservice, man. Don't take that island away from him. So my number 4, I know JK brought him up earlier when we were doing we call preseason scouting. And we said we would get to him as summer scouting. Scouting. There is no preseason. My bad. And Georgia tackle Armarius Mims.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's hurt right now. I don't. As a Gator fan, I hope he don't play this week. But as a guy who scouts players,
you already got Brock Bowers out of there, man. You're good, bro. You're good.
I need everything that I can get. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? First of all, we talk about Fuaga, being nasty, and I think Mims has a little bit of that. But first things first, bro. I noticed the silly things, bro, that other people don't notice. This man don't play with no gloves, bro. So you know what that means? Greasy. Yeah, let's go. Yeah. So when I seen that, I said, "Oh, him and
mentality check box for Drew."
Yes, check
box for Drew.
Yeah, Mims got a little nasty to him. It's obviously not to the level of my number 3 guy, but Mims is long. He looks, I don't want to say lanky because he's a big guy for his size. I think he moves well for his size. I think he mirrors very well for his size. He keeps his hands inside like you want as an offensive lineman. I think he does everything well and I think he's a polished player. The only issue that I have with Mims, I just got one, bro, and I guess I'm gonna say it for every Georgia player that plays offensive line, bro. Can you head? Do we need to put a neck brace on your neck? Because I need your head to stay up. Because the man don't keep his head up. At times he'll drop his head, and we know what that leads to. But I really, really like Mims. You know, I don't see anybody. I don't see anybody going up to 3. Like anybody that's below 3, you can't climb the ladder. There's nothing there.
Your 3 is set.
Your
top 3 is
bro.
set.
Yeah, unless somebody fall off the face of the earth.
Sure.
Yeah, we set here, man.
All right, Drew, kick off. Number 5.
I got my OT 5. That was his 5, right?
No. I got 5. That was 4.
That was 4.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Yeah.
So 5. I'm gonna bring it home.
Helly ready to get back in there, bro.
No, I thought that was 5 for him. So right now you got Olu.
Mm-hmm.
Who's number 2?
Alt.
Mm-hmm.
Waga.
And then Mims.
And then Mims. All right, I got you.
Okay. And then my last, I got to bring him back to the fold. We're gonna bring him to the congregation. He don't have to be at the front of the congregation. He can sit on a pew. And J.C. Latham, right tackle for Alabama. I got Strong at the point of attack. He gets to his pass pro set. He's a wide body player. He's aggressive in the run game. I don't necessarily think he's violent, but he does enough for me in terms of being aggressive. That's kind of what I want from my guys. You don't necessarily got to be nasty, but I like to have my nasty. What happened?
Jake's comment here. Imagine a team with Mims with Waga hunting 2nd and 3rd level guys.
Bro, doing work, bro. Playing in that and have Cedric Van Pran at the center, bro. I mean, that's zone scheme all day, moving folks, fooling folks. J.C. Latham, I also thought that you can't really play games with him up front, man. I thought that he was a guy who can see things coming from a mile away. Good feet. Let me see here.
Coaching.
I thought his 2nd and 3rd level work. I guess we ain't got to talk about 3rd level. We don't even go down there hunting down safeties. But his second,
clean it up.
Come on,
clean it up, bro.
Listen, that's extra credit, bro. We don't
headhunter now here. No, I hear you.
but I do need him. He's got to be better at the 2nd level to find his guy. And I don't need you to maul a guy, but you got to be enough. You got to be in the way so guys can make moves at the 2nd level. And let me see here. Yeah, that's about what I got for him. And I the other guys in front of him are just having a better season, unfortunately. But he ain't too far off, man.
Yeah. My OT tackle is Kingsley Sumataya. Hopefully I didn't butcher that one. BYU. He's a quick twitch bowling ball. Shows a good blend of athleticism and power. His issue right now is technique-wise. That's why, he's at number 5 for me. He can improve his pass pro. You're talking about a guy that's head down, lunging forward. That's him. He got to keep his head up. He probably needs that neck brace too, Drew, because that balance, man. He'll lose his balance at times because sometimes he just comes too fast. He's trying to kill people at all times, so he comes too fast sometimes.
Unalive people.
Yeah, unalive. There you go. YouTube. Got to get the YouTube parameters, but But I feel like he fixed those issues, and stop lunching, I think he could be an all-pro because of what he does as a run blocker. He displays really good pass sets. His feet are quick. He gets to his landmarks. He was a right tackle last year. I think he's moved over to the left tackle side. But that block down, he's a block down beast, man. He's a bully. We talk about Talasia. He's a bully just like Talasia, man. That block down, he finishes them. What's that? Street Fighter finish him?
Yeah. No, that's
Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat. My bad.
One of them.
One of them, boy.
I was playing Madden. I was playing Madden. You know what I'm saying? I was playing Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. But yeah, he finishes them, man, and he'll drive the guys to the ground. Plus, effectively, his ability to locate defenders is also really well. He's got to keep that head up, keep your head on a swivel, and just not come too fast. You got to break down. We always talk about breaking down as edge rushers.
Under control.
Offensive tackle the same way. Be under control, locate those guys, and finish them. Because once he gets his hands on the guys, it's pretty much over, man. And it's a wrap for him. So Kingsley Sumataya, number 5. And I got some honorable mentions.
Yep.
Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma.
Yep.
I think he has a chance to be. He probably has one of the highest ceilings in this class.
I
once
thought he
gets
was going to be
everything
in
right.
Drew's top 5. I actually thought Tyler Guyton was going to crack Drew's top 5, but I was mistaken. I was mistaken.
My bad, bro.
He fell in love with Mims. He fell in love with Mims.
I did fall in love with Mims DeGreasy, but the thing about Guyton for me is one, he has to keep his hands more inside, and he plays upright at times. So I think that's one of the big things. And he's 6'7", right? And so it's a little harder to do that. But like Headley said, he does have the talent. He plays in an offense where they don't necessarily push the pile. They're not asking those guys to be maulers in the run game, so that hurts him a little bit in terms of my opinion. But I think he's a stellar pass blocker. But I'm trying to have both, bro. I'm trying to, what I'm saying, I'm a little greedy.
Best of both worlds. I
want to have best of both worlds. He doesn't necessarily give me that, and that may not necessarily be his fault. He's in the offense he's in, so
just don't see it.
Right. Yep. So.
Yeah, another guy that has an honorable mention, Jordan Morgan from Arizona. The tape was really impressive last season. Had an unfortunate knee injury, but he's back now. I love his athletic profile. Uses his feet really efficiently. He can get one, reset, and that's the thing about offensive linemen, being able to reset. Get to another guy or just reset even with the same guy. Just catch your balance. I think he does that really well. He went up against Braylon Trice early this year, and Trice got him with speed to power. I think that's what Morgan has to work on, just hitting the weight room, getting a little stronger, but just the movement ability, him in the run game, his feet are really nice, uses his hand pretty well. So, he doesn't seem that long. I got to see the measurables with Jordan Morgan. Maybe he has to move inside as well, but, I do like his athletic profile. So he's an honorable mention for me too.
Drew, you got honorable mentions?
I got two guys. Where'd they go? You got Patrick Paul from Houston. I think he's an outstanding pass blocker, but it's like like when you play in Madden, you play in a game and you add in attribute points, you trying to pump your guy up, right? So you got to pick your poison, right? So
JD and Miller Jr.
Yes, playing the shotgun 17 yards back, bro. Ridiculous, bro. I think we ran out of points to add to his run blocking. Right.
Oh wow.
So, yes, it's got some work to do, but a team could look at him and say he's an outstanding pass blocker, and we can work on the run blocking. He doesn't necessarily have the mentality, and he's slipping off blocks, so he's got to clean that up. And then the other guy that I had was
he's fairly new to the position though, if I'm not mistaken.
And you may be right because it looked a little new. It looked a little new for him out there. And then we got Blake Fisher from Notre Dame as well, who. They don't ask him to do the things that they ask Joe Alt to do. So I think
it's weird, man. It is weird. The tackles are doing two different things, bro. It's weird. Yeah.
Crazy. He's got the short drop while Alt's got the deeper
vertical
drop.
Set.
It's crazy. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. So I don't know what the full picture looks like with Blake Fisher. He may not be as good as we think, or he may be outstanding. You don't know because of what they're asking him to do. So
Gotcha. Great stuff, fellas. Great stuff. We're going to be churning out our grades as we get closer and closer to the draft season. I mean, it's November, man. Draft season is right around the corner. So we're going to be pumping out the rankings, getting the big board situated, so you know exactly where we stand as far as all of these prospects. All right. So, Jake, pleasure having you on board for tonight's show. Obviously, Jake has a lot of insight on these players as well. He's studying them as well. Check out his channel. Be sure to take advantage of our Underdog promo link in the description. 2x your money. We're going to see you guys next week. Same time, same place. Couch Potato General Manager, the second half draft show. For Hadley, Drew, this is Juice. We'll see you next week.